Hello, Ajahn Brahm.
Hello.
Very good afternoon. Very nice to see you.
Yeah, you can see me. Is the light okay? Everything okay? Maybe put my head down a bit. There we go. That's better.
So good afternoon, Ajahn Brahm. My name is Joe. I will be the service leader for today's talk.
Excellent.
Yeah. Today, Ajahn, we will be doing the preliminary homage to the Buddha Dhamma Sangha.
Good.
Afterwards, homage to Ajahn.
Yeah.
Afterwards, we will request for the 3 refugees and 5 precepts. Will that be okay, Ajahn Brahm?
Okay. Of course it's okay.
Yeah, thank you very much, Ajahn Brahm.
Okay. So I'll just stay here and watch you all. It's nice to see the Buddhist Fellowship, the Yeo's building there. It's not many people out. I can see a few people.
We are waiting for some more people to come in. So later on, I think we're expecting a full house.
Yeah. Hi. Hi, everybody. Very good. Yay. I see Upal in the back there. Hello, Upal. Yay. In the back, nice to see you.
How's everything going in Western Australia, Ajahn Brahm? Is everything okay?
Yeah, it's just a boring place, Western Australia. There was a big bushfire very close to the nuns' monastery, 400 meters away, this huge fire. But the winds changed and it never came in. Oh, that was a close call. But it's just what happens when we have any problems. Sometimes, somehow or other, everything works out in the end. Heavenly beings looking after us. And so they had a very nice time that they came over to Jhana Grove for a week. And they're having a wonderful time there. But anyway, they've gone back today to Dharmasala. And of course, we also have COVID, but it's not quite the same COVID in Western Australia and other parts of the world. In West Australia, only just one person got COVID, never infected anybody. And so we're still like in semi-lockdown, but not real lockdown.
Okay. Also would like to apologize on behalf of BF's president, Ajahn Brahm. Brother Pang Hong is not here today. Because,
doesn't matter. I have given him forgiveness in the 3 time zones.
Okay.
Past, present, and future. So no trouble.
Thank you very much, Ajahn Brahm. So.
And happy New Year. In a few days' time.
Yeah. Happy Lunar New Year.
Yes.
I'm not sure if there will be some celebrations in Jhana Grove as well, Ajahn Brahm, or
not in Jhana Grove, but over here. But at the end of the new year, we've got just a lion dance. Just make a bit of noise, chase away all the bad spirits. Actually, because you don't really need that over here. There's no bad spirits, not in Jhana Grove or in Bodhinyana Monastery. There's nothing to chase away here.
Maybe not for bad spirits, but for prosperity and inviting luck and wealth and everything.
Oh, goodness. I always say the middle way is the best. Not wealth, not lack of wealth, but enough to pay the bills and to enjoy your life.
Pay the bills, yes. Okay, so we will start first. Ajahn Brahm, please give us some time to do the preliminary homage.
Good.
Brothers and sisters, let us do the preliminary homage to the Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha. Arahang Samma Sambuddho Bhagava Tang Bhagavantang Abhivadin Swakato Bhagavata Dhammo Dhammang Namasami Supatipanno Bhagavato Savaka Sangho Sanghang Namami. let us now give homage to Ajahn Brahm, to the Sangha. Okay, Ajahn, may we request for the 3 refuges as well as the 5 precepts?
Yeah, okay. So I will say the refuges first, and you repeat them after me.
Yes.
Buddhang saranang gacchami.
Buddhang saranang gacchami.
Dhammang saranang gacchami.
Dhammang saranang gacchami.
Sanghang saranang gacchami.
Sanghang saranang gacchami.
Dutiyampi buddhang saranang gacchami.
Dutiyampi buddhang saranang gacchami.
Dutiyampi dhammang saranang gacchami.
Dutiyampi dhammang saranang gacchami.
Dutiyampi sanghang saranang gacchami.
Dutiyampi sanghang saranang gacchami.
Tatiyampi buddhang saranang gacchami.
Tatiyampi buddhang saranang gacchami.
Tatiyampi dhammang saranang gacchami.
Tatiyampi dhammang saranang gacchami.
Tatiyampi sanghang saranang gacchami.
Tatiyampi sanghang saranang gacchami.
So that completes the 3 refuges. Now I'll give the 5 precepts. Panati pata veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami.
Panatipata veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami.
Adinadana veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami.
Adhinadhana veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami.
Kamesu miccachara veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami.
Kamesu miccachara veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami.
Musawada veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami.
Musawada veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami.
Sura meraya majja pamadatana veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami.
Sura miraya majja pamadatana veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami.
Imani pancha sikkhapadani silena sukating yanti silena bhoga sampada silena niputing yanti tasma silang visodaye.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Very good.
Thank you very much, Ajahn Brahm. Please allow me to give a little bit of introduction. I know that a lot of people over here does not need introduction to Ajahn Brahm, but maybe people in Zoom or those who have just participated for the first time would like to provide a little bit of introduction. Ajahn Brahmavamso Mahathera, popularly known as Ajahn Brahm, is a well-known Buddhist teacher to a growing international audience who are keen to learn meditation and develop a deeper spiritual understanding. Ajahn Brahm was a theoretical physics graduate from Cambridge University And Ajahn Brahm was ordained as a Theravadan monk in Bangkok at the age of 23 by the abbot of Wat Saket and trained with Ajahn Chah Bodhinyana Mahathera. Ajahn Brahm has spent more than 45 years in the forest meditation tradition and is currently the abbot of Bodhinyana Monastery in Western Australia with 24 monks under his training. He is also the spiritual patron of Buddhist Fellowship Singapore and the author of several popular book titles such as Opening the Door of Your Heart, Happiness Through Meditation, Simply This Moment, The Art of Disappearing, and the most famous one, Good, Bad, Who Knows? So, brothers and sisters, without further ado, let us put our palms together and provide the time and place for Ajahn Brahm to give us the talk.
Very good. And as I understand it, I'm supposed to talk for about 45 minutes to an hour, and then we have a bit of a break and then Q&A. Is that correct?
Yes, Ajahn.
Okay, very good. But first of all, I'm asking if it's correct or not correct. One little correction to the bio you read out is my full name is not Ajahn Brahmawangsa Mahathera. Mahathera is a monk who's got between 20 and 30 reigns. When you're just a young monk, you're just an ordinary monk. After 10 reigns, you become a Thera. After 20 reigns, you become Mahathera. After 30 reigns, what do you become? You become Megathera. And after 40 reigns, you become Gigathera. That's where I get my giggles from, because you're Ajahn Brahmawangsa Gigathera. Anyone over 40 reigns as a monk or a nun becomes Gigathera. So anyway, it's just, you know, when you look, I enjoy actually listening to my biographies, you know, and who I am, because sometimes I wonder, that's part of being a monk who meditates a lot, you know, who the heck are you? You know, if you just go overseas and sometimes people recognize you, sometimes people don't. Sometimes you go into, in Australia, and some people think you go to a fancy dress party, and some people just recognize you straight away and think you're a holy monk. And which one is true? And one of those stories, I remember years ago when I was visiting some family over in the Midlands of England, in a town of Stoke-on-Trent. That's where my mother grew up. And so still got lots and lots of relations in that part of UK, Stoke-on-Trent. And in the morning, I mean, I think somebody was making my lunch. And so another is a cousin of mine, a very lovely man. And he asked if, shall we go for a walk? So the two of us went on a walk. You know, it was a Sunday morning. You know, it was not busy. You know, people were going for walks as well or walking their dogs. But I was really surprised at the reaction which I got walking down the streets of this town in central England. Everybody was laughing and smiling at me. I was creating so much happiness. And I thought, wow, the power of loving kindness must be so great. Have a good meditation that morning, have lots and lots of kindness inside you, spread it out to everybody. And everybody is smiling back at me and laughing. And I thought, wow, my meditation's better than I thought. And it was still a little bit strange why they were doing this. And of course, I turned the corner onto a main road and I found out the reason why people were smiling and laughing at me. There was a big advertisement that a circus was in town. And I concluded they thought I was one of the clowns. And that's why they were pointing at me and laughing, thinking I was a clown. Anyway, it created some happiness in the world, so I wasn't offended at all. And sometimes that's what happens, you know, when you dress a little bit strangely in a country like UK. But anyway, that was many years ago, and I enjoyed that little bit of Gigaterra moments. It can make people happy. But anyway, the title of the talk this afternoon over in Singapore, because people asked me, please choose a title. This was an important part of meditation, an important part of the spiritual practice, just an important part of life, which a lot of people forget. You know, it's called like self-compassion. even like calling it self-compassion. That sometimes Buddhists say, well, there's not supposed to be a self there. So who are you being compassionate towards? So you're being compassionate towards this body which bears your name. You're being compassionate to this mind, this stream of consciousness you experience inside, which you are even more aware of than your body as you go through life. It's giving kindness to this thing which you are living with every moment of your life. And so when we have kindness, compassion towards that, and make that an important part of our life, then we found we live a much better life, more successful, more happy, less health issues, and also you get much better depth of meditation and greater insight. And of course, we've mentioned stories like this before about how to be kind to oneself, but often we forget that because a lot of times we always feel, yes, I can do better. Yes, I can improve. Yes, there's more work which I can do. And what happens is that you get burnt out. And what happens is you feel you're not up to scratch. You feel that, when brains or minds or bodies were given out, you were at the end of the queue and got a dud, as they say in Australia, one which didn't work properly. The trouble is you can't take your body and mind back to the shop and get it fixed up or get it changed until your next birth. So you're stuck with this body and mind for the whole of your life. So it's nice to be able to understand it and get it to realize that it is working properly. There's nothing wrong with it. And just that realization that my body, well, yeah, it's maybe getting a bit chubbier than it used to be. Oh, I don't know why this happens to me. Even today, this morning, I thought, wow, today I have a good chance because I was going to go out to do a blessing. Actually, I should actually tell you where I went to this morning. Where Ajahn Brahm went to this morning was a beauty parlor. A real beauty parlor. I went to a beauty parlor this morning. Very good. It was one of my Vietnamese disciples who were opening up their beauty parlor shop, and they wanted it blessed. Okay, so I didn't do anything wrong. I didn't sort of go under any machines or just get my fingernails done or anything. It was just a beauty parlor, and a nice girl starting off a shop, a business for herself in Perth, and they wanted me to bless it. So it was just the usual chanting. And I thought, just have a cup of tea, and that's all I need. You should have seen the breakfast they gave me. Huge. And of course, when they go to all that trouble, finding out what you like, and just making that for your breakfast, what can you do? I can't just say, no, I'll just have the cup of tea today, thank you. You got to eat it. And then as soon as you get back to our center in Noramara, Dhammaloka Center, where I'm speaking from now, as soon as I get back here, there's another lunch on. Oh, my goodness me. Well, there we go. That's the excuse which I have for not being able to, as they say, flatten the curve. And of course, this is my curve here. You can't see it. I'm hiding it. But it's still as round as when I last visited Singapore. But I'm still in really good health. And there's a reason for that, for being in good health. And it's one of the reasons is we don't get too negative about ourselves. This being you live with, as long as you give it a lot of peace, kindness, and joy, that is incredibly powerful. Of course, you have exercise as well, but sometimes giving the mind a very beautiful state to stay in, that, in my opinion, my experience, is even more important. So how we actually do that? So many people don't have self-compassion. It's a strange thing. We can be kind to a cat. We can actually take in a stray dog and look after it. And we can forgive so many people who harm and hurt us. But the one being we find it the hardest to forgive and to be kind to is ourselves. And that's, to me, that's such a crazy state of affairs to be in. If it's a dog or a cat, well, you're not with them all the time. You don't. Well, actually, some people do take their dog or cat to bed with them They sleep on their chest at night time. Oh, I was kind. We had this wonderful cat in Bodhinyana Monastery years ago called Kit Kat. Not a very original name, but that's a name it's got stuck with, a very smart cat. And I remember just, sometimes it would sleep outside my hut. I wouldn't let it inside, not on purpose. Sleep outside the hut on the doormat. And one morning during our rains retreat, during the winter time, it was really cold. I mean, not snowing or ice like they have in Northern Europe, but it was still really cold, maybe 2 or 3 degrees centigrade. And so that cat was just so cold. And as soon as in the morning, I got up, about 4 o'clock, and then I opened the door to go to the toilet. And as soon as I opened the door, that cat darted in as fast as could be. That cat could have got into the Olympic Games for felines and probably got a gold medal in many events. It was so fast. And I had to go to the toilet. So I went to the toilet, and when I went back inside, I tried to find where the cat was. And it was at the bottom of my sleeping bag, the warmest place in my hut. Would that cat come out? No way. That was the place it was going to get a nice warm sleep for the rest of the morning. And so I had to go and meditate somewhere else. So anyway, I thought that cat was a very smart cat. At least the cat had self-compassion. The cat wasn't embarrassed. It was taking the sleeping bag away from a senior monk. It didn't sort of bow 3 times before it ran into my room. It just went for it. And of course, it was just so welcome to do things like that. I'm very happy that it could have a nice warm place for a few hours. But anyway, because human beings somehow or other have lost our sense of self-compassion. That's why we have all these incredible sort of stories to first of all point out what the problem really is. And one of those stories is, which I've told many, many times, and I think it's in one of those books, Opening the Door of Your Heart, I believe. Could be in the Good, Bad, Who Knows, I'm not sure, but you may recognize the story. But it was a powerful story, and it was so impressive that in those days when I came to Singapore, and actually you had like little shows, put some of these Dhamma teachings into a production. It was actually one of those shows, and it was the story of the 7 monks in the cave. And if you've heard it before, please remember that I've heard this story more times than anyone, because every time I tell it, I hear it again, but I enjoy it. And it always has an extra bit of wisdom in it, which I never saw before. And that was a story of 7 monks meditating on loving kindness, on compassion. May all the world be happy and well, all beings without discrimination, all beings in any country, good beings, bad beings, in-between beings, may they all receive my kindness and respect. We've done that many times, in the Buddhist Fellowship and many other centers. You know what it feels like, what you do. But anyway, that's what these monks were perfecting. And in this story, there were the 7 monks were the head monk. And the second monk was his brother. They became monks together. I don't know why this happens, but I see so often that there's one of the nuns over in Dhammasara now, that she just came from Melbourne, and her brother ordained as a monk. A sister and brother. Actually, I think the mother doesn't mind so much, but some of the monks, when they've only got 2 or 3 children and all of them ordain, the mothers get very upset. Now, Ajahn Chatamalo and Ajahn Chittapalo's staying with me. Chatamalo is over in Germany somewhere. But anyway, that when they both ordained, and the mother and father came to see me, and the mother said, Ajahn Brahm, it's hard enough seeing one of my sons ordained as a Buddhist monk, but to take the other son as well, that's a bit too much. I've only got 2, now I've got none. She wasn't really that sort of upset, but you could see, how people, they love their children. And if they don't know what being a monk or a nun really is, they feel that they're disappearing from their lives. Of course, they don't disappear from your life. They actually enhance your life. They're always ringing up asking for something or something like that. But anyway, so the brother was also a monk in this cave. And the third monk was the best friend. When you have got a really good friend in life and you do many things together, you go to school together, university together, and you just go out together. And, that friendship is just so strong that sometimes, when one of them gets interested in something like Buddhism and even meditation, the other one gets interested as well. And sometimes they decide, let's do this together. Let's both ordain. And so the two of them were monks together, the head monk and the best friend. And the fourth monk, this happens sometimes. It's just human beings have got human nature. And sometimes, even though you're monks in the same monastery, sometimes you don't get on together. There's sometimes that just people have different sort of attitudes, different conditioning, nothing wrong with people. But it's just that sometimes monks don't get on. So the fourth monk we call the enemy. Always causing trouble for the head monk, but he wasn't a bad monk. He was still practicing loving kindness and meditation, but the number 4 monk was the enemy. Number 5 monk was a very old monk. You've seen old monks. That recently, I hope you have been hearing this in the other talks. I said this last night, I believe, that to the people here in Perth, that I told the monks, just in passing, I said, look, I'm getting old now. This is my 70th year. I'll have my 70th birthday next August. I'm getting old, I said. And the monks in my monastery said, no, Ajahn Brahm, you're not getting old. And I thought, how sweet, how nice that they say I'm not getting old. Oh, they're so cute, those monks I look after. And then they said, no, you're not getting old, Ajahn Brahm. You're already old. I said, thank you very much. We had a good laugh together. So 69 is old. 70 is really old. But old is like valuable. It's antique. It's heritage. The older you get as like a painting, the more valuable you are. So anyway, back to, that's the old monk. The next monk was a very ill monk. Sometimes I don't know why this happens too, but some of the monks, they get very sick. And some like karma coming up from the past, I reckon. But one of the wonderful things is, even though monks sometimes get sick, we have this amazing group of people who can look after them. Even today, at our dana today, there's a Sri Lankan doctor who came to say hello. He lives a bit further out from Perth, south of Perth, in a place called Mandurah. And he came up to pay respects. And I said, thank you for coming, because he looked after one of my monks who had a hernia, had to have a hernia operation. Of course, this was a very good doctor. And sometimes in places like Perth, you have to wait. There's a waiting time, especially now during COVID times. And so you're always going to have to wait a long time and didn't know really what to do. And this was a Sri Lankan doctor said, look, it's my privilege. Please let me just do this hernia operation straight away in his spare time. And so he gave this monk a wonderful operation. And it's very successful. And the monk is great. In fact, he found out he had 2 hernias, one on either side. And then they picked both of them up, this doctor, and did both at the same time. So this monk has had it all fixed up. And it's so fortunate. We don't have money, we try and work hard, but we also have other privileges. The health insurance which comes from being kind and good to others. So anyway, this was the 6th monk, was a very ill monk. And he was, like people are very old and very sick. You don't know when they're going to die. No one knew who would die first, the old monk or the sick monk. Both were very, very close. And if they hadn't been living in a cave, if they'd been going to funeral services, both of them, like I was doing last week, a couple of funerals, and the next week another one. But anyway, when you go to a funeral service as a monk, and you give all the chanting. If you're a very old and sick monk, sometimes you think, well, it's a waste of time. You're leaving the funeral party. You stay here because your time's going to come soon. So that's a joke. Please excuse me. But anyway, those two monks, no one knew who was going to die first. And the last monk, number 7, we always have one of these as well in every monastery. The useless monk. I don't know why it is, but sometimes monks, they just can't chant. You know, you start the chanting and they go out of key, or they're too slow or too fast, and just as a head monk, you try and get people to chant together in harmony, but sometimes it just doesn't work. And meditating, sometimes when monks meditate, they fall asleep. I don't mind that if they're in their own hut, but when they're on, say, Dhammaloka, and the cameras are on them, they fall asleep while we're streaming overseas. That can be a bit embarrassing. But anyway, this was the useless monk. But nevertheless, the compassion of like monastics is so great. If you're useless, but it doesn't matter. At least you're around, and you can help in all sorts of interesting ways, unique ways. Just because you're not good at meditation or you're not good at chanting, there's so many other things which you can do. It reminded me of a story which I was told even last night of this Chula Pandaka. It's not from the sutras. His elder brother was fully enlightened, but Chula Pandaka, he had some learning difficulties. So, trying to do meditation, he just didn't get it. And what made Chula Pandaka really break through to the Dhamma, his brother gave him a piece of cloth. This is like a piece of cloth, and told him to keep wiping the cloth with his hands, keep wiping it. And that's what he did, hour after hour after hour, wiping the cloth. And he saw the cloth get dirty. He saw the cloth start to fray. He started to see things wearing away. And he could see that with his own experience, with his own eyes. He didn't need to figure it out from a book, from words. He could actually see it, direct experience. And the brother said, well, look, this is the nature of life. Anything which is beautiful, which is endearing, which you are attached to, through use, it starts to get dirty. People start to get old, beauty starts to fade, flowers start to die. And that's the nature of our life. So why do you stick to things? And simple teaching like that, which you could put into an example which you could see, that meant so much. And that's what helped Chula Pandaka break through to the Dhamma, so he didn't become attached to things. Even like learning chanting. Yeah, you learn the chanting, and I used to learn so much chanting when I was young. I still got it there, but I know that there'll come a day when I start to forget the chants. Well, actually, it's already happened. That story I told many of you when I... Please excuse me laughing, because it still makes me sort of crack up. That's the laughing when I tell these stories. And that was the time when I went to do a blessing chant at somebody's wedding. And sort of, I was tired. I should have been taking more rest. But when I started to chant, you know what happened? I told the story before, you all remember probably. I did the funeral chant for this couple on the happiest day of their life. And they never knew that this monk had got his chanting wrong and did a funeral chant rather than the wedding blessing. And I never told them. And as far as I know, they're actually still happily married. Something interesting in that. But anyway, so, you might make mistakes sometimes, but I use my mistakes as a subject matter for more stories. So anyway, this 7 monks in the cave. And then what happened next was this bunch of thieves found that cave. And they thought, wow, this is in the jungle. This is remote. This is well hidden. This is an excellent hideout from the police. And also we can store so much stolen goods in this cave. So this is a perfect headquarters for our group of ill-doers, the gang of thieves. But these gang of thieves were also quite violent. So when they saw these monks in the cave had got to the cave first, they thought, well, there's nothing else we can do. We'll have to kill all those monks, murder the lot of them. That's how bad they were. Wanted to kill monks, very peaceful beings, monks. But you know, a lot of times the monks they don't need to defend themselves with weapons or run away. Imagine me being in a cave like that. Could I run away? Not at my age, with my weight. Even the oldest of the criminals would catch me first off, no trouble. So running away is not an option. So we use other ways to escape the evil people of life. So what this head monk did, he was told he's going to kill you all. So the head monk started talking to the head of the thieves and said, look, why do you want to kill us? You know, we're good monks. We won't tell where the cave is. We'll just leave peacefully. No, we've got to kill you. No, let us go. No, he said, I don't know if I make a good imitation of a bad thief. No, you cannot go. We've got to kill you all. Ah. Probably not. You're probably all laughing because it's been such a long time since I watched the TV. So I don't know what bad people look like these days. Anyway, so eventually they came to a solution. The head monk said, the only reason why you want to kill us is so none of us will tell the location of this cave. So, said the head monk, you can kill one of us. Just one of us as an example that you are serious about this matter. And that if after killing one in front of the rest, then if anybody else, any monk tells the location of this cave, you'll come for them and you'll do the same to them. It's like a warning. And the head of the thieves, yeah, that's okay, fair enough. Who should I kill? Said the head of the thieves in front of everybody else. And this is a part of the story, you know. The rest I've been embellishing it a bit, as I love doing. Who are you going to choose? And we had the 7 monks there. And at this point, I ask you, don't run too fast here, because you know the answer probably. Some of you don't. You know, some of these stories which I tell, I don't know where I told them, when I've told them, and sometimes people forget. Even the other day, I was telling a story. Ajahn Brahm said, no, that's the first time I've heard that story. You hadn't heard it before. And I thought, my goodness, I thought you've heard it umpteen times. So I don't know who's heard stories and who hasn't. But anyway, so the head monk had to decide who would die so all the rest could live. The head monk, his brother, his best friend, his enemy, who will get a bit of peace in the office. Or the old monk and sick monk, they're going to die soon anyway. Well, it's not really killing them, just like hastening their death process. Maybe people think like that. It's not a good way of thinking, but some people think like that. Or the useless monk. Because that useless monk has never done any good karma for anybody. What a wonderful sacrifice that would be for him. Is that how you think? But anyway, those 7 monks, one of them to die so the rest could live. What happened? And this is the point when I tell this story in a big public gathering. I love just to pause there and just ask the audience, who do you reckon was killed so everyone else could live? If you were that head monk, who would you choose? And the best time I told this story was actually in Sacramento many years ago, in the United States, California. And in the audience there was he was, I think, Uniting Church or Presbyterian Church bishop. He was listening to me speak. So I looked at him and said, yeah, you're a bishop, a leader of your church. Who do you think should be chosen? If you were that head, who would you choose? And being a Christian, he put his hand up and said, choose yourself, obviously, sacrifice yourself. I knew he'd say that because I know Christianity. I said, wrong answer, wrong answer. And that's when he knew I wasn't being sort of trying to diminish his status as a Christian or trying to be mean to him, but he wondered, what the heck did I mean that he didn't sacrifice himself? And then, of course, I gave the answer. That head monk, his love and compassion to his brother was no more, no less, exactly even to his love towards his best friend. And he loved his enemy no more, no less than everyone else. And he loved the old monk, the sick monk, and the stupid monk exactly the same. His love was even for all those 6 monks and also towards himself. He said, I can't choose. My love for myself is no more, no less than the love for all those other monks in this cave. That, just to rub it in, I just said, well, isn't that what your church teaches? To love your neighbor as yourself. That was one of those sayings in Christianity which I remembered. To love your neighbor as yourself, which means to love yourself as your neighbor. No less, no more. It may seem a simple deduction, but it has powerful effects on your life. To love everybody equally. May all beings be happy and well. Not may the people I like be more happy, and those people I don't like, those people in the office always give me a hard time. I'm not going to like them. Well, maybe I like them, but not as much as my friends. Or maybe I like Ajahn Brahm much more than no, that's not the right way. The right way is to love everybody as evenly as possible. Now, what does that actually mean? It's hard because some people are just so lovable. They're so good, they're kind, and they give you lots of things. Your best friends, you understand, they never give you a hard time. But those who do give you a hard time, you learn so much from them. And the love is not loving what you like. The love is just loving things as they are and understanding that, today, it's amazing here in Perth. We've had a rainstorm last night. So even now it's raining. It's supposed to be the middle of the driest season, the hottest time of the year in Perth, but it's raining outside the door. Yeah, one of the reasons why all those nuns have gone back to Dhammasara now. Now it's our nuns' monastery because it's safe and the rain has just wetted down the area. Fire never came in anyway, but still it's a wonderful thing that you feel protected and cooled down because of that rain. Unexpected, but it's there. So you love life, all of it. Not just the nice part. Nice part is easy to love. Anyone can give loving kindness towards this wonderful person who you know in your life who's always really kind to you. What about some of the doctors and nurses looking after COVID patients? Doctors and nurses, health staff who hardly sleep, or certainly don't sleep enough because there's so much work to be done and such a difficult decisions to make. This is life and death for so many hundreds, thousands of people. You can still love those patients, even though they're causing them to so much exhaustion. And even those people who have sicknesses. Sometimes, can you love your sickness? If you can, that sickness doesn't last. You're giving it some kindness instead of negativity. The Buddha said there's the 2 thorns, 2 darts sometimes, 2 arrows, it doesn't matter what you call it, 2 things which pierce you, and they're really painful. One is a physical dart of suffering. You hit your hand, or you fall over and you break a leg, or you have a physical disease like COVID or a cancer. It hurts physically. But it's also the second part of pain and disease. That is the emotional arrow. I'm not calling it mental arrow because then mental sicknesses, people think there's something wrong with you again. No, let's call it emotional arrow. It's how you react to those physical feelings of pain. And the Buddha said that you have full power over how you react. It's hard to imagine that somebody who's like dying in a lot of pain, who's really sick, how on earth they can smile, be happy. Well, I've seen it many times. One lady who comes to mind, she had lung cancer. And when I went to see her, only a couple of days to live, and see her, and she was smiling and joking and laughing over her face. Such a happy lady. It was wonderful to be with her at that time. And even her doctor, who wasn't a Buddhist, when at the funeral, she died a few days later, he said that lady died with grace. It was the most wonderful time that he could actually thank her for being her patient and to seeing what is possible when a person dies with something like lung cancer. But anyway, these are true stories. And even for myself, sometimes we've got really, really sick and really painful. Sometimes just the power of just learning about your emotional response to things, how you can give kindness back, self-compassion. And it changes the whole picture. Everything starts to work and it's wonderful. And the pain, yes, sort of the pain's there, but it's not a problem anymore. The mind is more powerful. But anyway, with those 7 monks, the longest version of this story ever, I think. Oh my goodness me, where did that time go? 45 minutes already. Anyway, with that 7 monks said, no, we love each other equally. We can't decide. And this story is, we're sort of based on a story from the from the Therigatha. These are stories of the enlightened monks and enlightened nuns in the time of the Buddha. It's based on one of those stories. Of course, it's only based on it. There's a lot of tweaking by Ajahn Brahm. I don't mind tweaking the stories because it's getting out a message which is important. So what happened next? In the story, in the Therigatha, those thieves were so impressed. They never expected an answer like that. And they realized it was from sincerity by that head monk. And they were so impressed that half of those thieves went back to their village and got proper jobs. And the other half stayed in that cave and became monks. They got inspired to renounce that this was not just being a monk to escape from the duties of the world, but to realize incredible, powerful teachings which changed their life and the way they look at things. The reason I tell that story, because that's one of the best examples of self-compassion. Realize you count as well. And to give that kindness to yourself and treat yourself no more, no less than anybody else. And the second story, I better tell the story much faster, was not even a story from, I don't think it was a story from the Buddhist text. I can't remember now. I think it came from a story of Hindu story about one of these teachers in the old days. And the teachers in the old days, now I'm really talking about old days, 600, 700, 800 years ago, and before then, the teacher would take on a lot of students and would teach them everything. The teacher would teach them about philosophy and mathematics and the languages and everything else which you need to learn at school. Just one teacher with a group of students. And anyway, this is an old type of story. Please don't get offended that it's because he had a daughter, and the daughter was this really beautiful daughter. And many of the students looked at her and thought, wow, I'd really love to go out with her. And who knows, maybe marry her one day. But she was the teacher's daughter. So, not much chance of that, they thought, until one day the teacher got all the students together and said that my daughter, it's about the time that she got married. And according to my tradition, said the teacher, she has to marry one of my students. And of course, all the boys, they say, yeah, pick me, pick me. He said, no, I'm going to do a test to see who's the most worthy, the wisest and kindest of all of my students. And this is your test, said the teacher. I also have another problem, said the teacher, and this test will solve two problems for me. Now, who is wise enough and kind enough to marry my daughter? But also, just once you're married, just a ceremony takes a lot of money. Getting married is very expensive. And yeah, I've got to set you up in a house by yourself and all the furniture and stuff. Oh, getting married costs a lot of money. And he said, in order to pay for that, I want you, students, to go into the local villages surrounding here late at night or early in the morning and creep in to people's houses. I taught you mindfulness so you can walk silently and move without anybody noticing you. And I want you to steal from the people, bring it back here, and I will take a record of it, and whoever steals the most will be able to marry my daughter. And the students were so surprised. You're asking us to steal? He said, obedience is important. Oh, he said, but one extra thing, don't let anybody see you. And at that, all the students were surprised, but that's what our teacher said. And that's who we'd like to marry this beautiful girl. So that evening, or early the next morning, they all one by one went into the villages. And if they saw that people were sound asleep, or they saw the room was empty, they'd creep in there at nighttime and they'd steal things. And when they got back, the teacher put all the things aside and took a note of who stole what and from where. At the end of the 7 days, actually I think before then, I think the original story said, even before then he said, enough. We've got plenty of stuff now. You've all done very well. And all the students were waiting to see who would win the prize. But then the teacher said, all except one of you. You, student in the back, why were you disobedient to your teacher? Why didn't you steal anything? And that student said, sir, I tried. I went into the village at night time. I crept into the houses and no one saw me coming or saw me leaving. I was so quiet. But when I was about to take an item of value, I noticed that someone was looking at me. The teacher said, who was looking at you? You were alone. It was dark. And the little student said, I was looking at me. I was watching me steal. And you said, don't let anybody see you steal. So I couldn't fulfill your instructions. And of course, the student said, yeah, at last I've got one wise student among all you idiots in this class. One person was listening carefully and understanding. There's no such thing as breaking any precepts without anyone noticing. You notice. You see what you're doing. So having kindness to yourself is noticing what you're doing and making sure it doesn't hurt you. making sure it doesn't hurt you. And if it doesn't hurt you, it's not going to harm others. Self-compassion, kindness, and wisdom. Once it's really strong inside of you, it means you will never harm or hurt another human being, or any other being for that matter. You're kind to yourself, and that kindness, which is always with wisdom, the kindness and wisdom to yourself will go out there into the world and spread to other people as well. As you talk, as you practice, whatever you do goes towards others. And if you don't judge yourself, you're a human being, you make mistakes, you learn from mistakes. You don't expect to be perfect. That's one of the things I always look at myself. Accept yourself, Ajahn Brahm as he is. Yeah, maybe I eat too much. Actually, I don't eat too much. I'm given too much to eat. And out of kindness, oh, okay, I'll put it in my mouth. My tummy doesn't belong to me. It belongs to you. And what else do I do wrong? Sometimes I repeat stories again. Sometimes I do the wrong chanting. It's very hard to sleep in the mornings. Sometimes I try, go to bed late at night, because I've got too much energy. But I don't know. I always tend to get up at 4 a.m. no matter what time I go to bed. Anyway, but it was, I think, about a week ago. I slept in till just before 5 a.m. Was I guilty? No. I realized, I don't know why that happened. Maybe some sickness, I don't know. But I felt good afterwards. So I never actually blame myself when I make a mistake. I have compassion and kindness towards myself. There's self-compassion. In the same way, when we began this talk, the president of the Buddhist Fellowship, Pang, he couldn't make it to the talk today. That's not a problem at all. I gave him forgiveness in the 3 time zones, which I've given to many people many times, and I've also given that to myself a long time ago. Ajahn Brahm, I said to myself, I will forgive you for anything you have done in the past, anything you do in the present, anything you will ever do in the future. You're forgiven already. There's no guilt. There's no punishment. There's no stigmatizing. There's no just thinking there's something wrong with you, Ajahn Brahm. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to give compassion to myself. I'm learning how to teach, learning how to, actually we're always learning how to live, learning how to be old, eventually learning how to die, learning how to let go totally. All this learning which we do throughout our whole lives, learning how to be peaceful, learning how to laugh, learning how not to be afraid. All those things which we learn. You can't learn that unless you have goodwill towards yourself, compassion towards yourself, understanding to yourself. How can you have understanding to yourself when you're afraid of yourself or all the faults you have inside? If you have many faults inside yourself, we don't even want to look at them. We're afraid of them. The 2 bad bricks in the wall, that first wall I built, seeing the mistakes. Oh my goodness, I want to destroy that wall. Don't want to look at it ever again. And then realizing it's not a bad wall. Everyone has a couple of bad bricks in the wall. Sometimes people have 998 bad bricks and only 2 good bricks. Look at those 2 good bricks. They're fine. And when you have that sort of attitude of kindness, acceptance, learning, growing, no blaming, then you know about self-compassion. And it has wonderful effects on people's lives. When I used to go and teach in prisons, I haven't been in prison for a long time now, get too busy doing other stuff. And of course, you train other monks to do that. That wonderful story, which I like sharing with people, of the time when went into I hadn't gone for about a year or 2. And this prison officer called me. He wouldn't talk to me personally, not another monk. No email, but call. Ajahn Brahm, can you please come back to teach at our jail? There's a top security jail. Can you please come back to teach? And I said, I'm so busy, I'll send someone else. He said, no, I want you. And of course, next thing your answer is, why? Why me? There's other good monks in monasteries, nuns. Why not have one of those come and teach the prisoners? He said, no, I want you. He said, because I've been in this prison service all my career, 30 years or more. And he said, I've noticed something unique. That all the prisoners who ever came to your classes, all of them, once they were released, never ever came back to jail. That was so unique and rare. I noticed that. I don't know what you're doing, but please come back and do it again. And that really touched me. I thought, wow, what is it? What is the secret that you can go into a prison and you can teach murderers, and rapists, and thieves, and people who've done some terrible, terrible crimes? How come you can teach them and then never come back to jail? And the answer I soon figured out was just that wonderful self-compassion. The little prisoner, don't know why they did that crime. They maybe just drunk or on drugs or just crazy, having a difficult time in their life. It hurts so many other people. You can't neglect that. But then for them, if they have the kindness to themselves, the forgiveness to themselves, of course, they will never need to do a crime like that ever again. So that respecting this inner being you, giving it forgiveness, always. And what's one of my favorite sayings, I think Angie asked this question at one of those talks, and the answer I'd always remember is one of the quotes in those book of quotes, which is attributed to me. And said, how many times should you forgive? And the answer is always one more time. Always one more time. And then once you're forgiven, they do the wrong thing again. Can you forgive me? Yeah, I told you one more time. In other words, it keeps going on and on and on and on. And that forgiveness, which keeps going on and on and on and on, is powerful. Isn't it sincere? Powerful. People realize it means there's nothing wrong with them. They made mistakes, but making a mistake doesn't mean there's something wrong with you and you need to sort of punish yourself forever or destroy yourself or put yourself in a place where you can just disappear into some black hole in the planet and just not come out again. Everybody has this beautiful path in their life, the path of the Dhamma. When we understand our faults, we're kind to ourselves. And we also remember to be kind to the good stuff in our life. It's a wonderful way of just putting the bad stuff in perspective. Wonderful things which people do in their life. And people who have been so-called bad people. This example, and I'll open up for Q&A. One example of that, there was one of the most notorious prisoners I'd ever seen in my life. Apparently they made films about him afterwards. He was such a bad guy. He was one of the gang leaders in East London, which was like Ronnie Cray, one of the Cray brothers. And I remember just with another monk in England going to visit him in Broadmoor jail for the criminally insane. He was a really, quite a violent man, Ronnie Cray. And, he wasn't, he had some mental infirmities as well. So he's in this house in this prison for criminally insane. I didn't know what to make of him. It's this first really famous criminal I've ever met. And so when I went to see him, he's such a nice, pleasant guy. Shake your hand. How are you doing? What's your name? Brahm? Oh, yeah. And then just before we left, he said, oh, yeah, if I ever get any money, I'll send you a few quid in the post for your monastery. Of course, he never did that. He never did have any money. Eventually, he died of some sickness or whatever while in jail. But, to me, seeing one of these notorious prisoners in jail and just how kind he was, how pleasant he was. And just you can focus on that kindness inside of yourself and give yourself incredible compassion And that's self-compassion, realizing you're not even a fraction as bad as you thought you were. Then you blossom. You grow into this gorgeous person. You can even get enlightened. Look at all the famous people who got enlightened in the time of the Buddha. Angulimala, a serial killer. He became enlightened. And so many other people did terrible things in their life. But nevertheless, they still had enough goodness inside of them to focus on that, become compassionate towards themselves, working on that, and grow to full enlightened being. Isn't that amazing? You don't have to pay off those debts with pain. You pay off those debts with compassion and wisdom. May all beings be happy and well. Okay, there we go. Ajahn Brahm rabbiting on for a while. So, is it? So yeah, okay, do sadhu if you want. I'm listening.
Ajahn Brahm. We will now go to question and answer.
Okay, yes.
We'll pass to Sister Shishan.
Thank you, Ajahn, for the talk. Are there any questions from the floor?
Wow, everyone's enlightened.
Ajahn,
yes.
Could we do a short meditation session?
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah, a short meditation. Or I did actually promise. I have to keep my promises. So I make mistakes sometimes. If anyone wants to have a toilet break. So let's have a 5-minute toilet break, first of all. Some people are a bit old. They need to go to the loo. They need to let go. So if you don't go toilet break first of all, letting go break, 5 minutes. And we do the meditation or the Q&A in a 5 minutes time. And give you also a chance to get the questions all organized. So this is a letting go break.
Thank you, Ajahn Brahm.
Ajahn, may I introduce Sister Si Xuan? She is a newcomer to our Dhamma Dutta team.
Oh, I've heard the name before. Do I know her? Where is she? See her photo? No, can't see her. See if I can get your screen. Oh, there. Okay, hi. Excellent.
Hi, Ajahn.
Hello. So, being a Dhamma Dutta, what are you actually doing?
Help Eileen.
Helping Eileen. Oh, that's much better. I can see you now. Very good. Yeah, I can see Eileen with the 2 rabbit ears behind her head. You know that sometimes one of the things which I like about the Buddhist fellowship, that sometimes you can have fun together. Yeah, it's a talk and you got a senior monk, but you can always mess around and have some joy. Because that's, again, I learned now from Ajahn Chah, there is a time to just be serious, but there's a time also just to have this wonderful fellowship associated with Buddhism. The Buddhist fellowship is great. So I hope you have a wonderful time, Dhamma Dutta, whatever that means. And helping one another and serving. You know, one of the best ways of spreading the Dhamma, that's what Dhamma Dutta is supposed to mean. The best ways of spreading the Dhamma is just being a good person and a happy person. That really impresses people here in Australia anyway. You know, people go around and, oh, COVID time, and aren't you really upset and afraid? They go into quarantine and aren't you just having a difficult time? Say, no, it's peaceful, it's beautiful, I'm having some time off. And they just say, what? How come you can be so happy and peaceful? And you tell, well, it's just Buddhism, Dhamma. And that spreads the Dhamma more than anything else in this world. People see by your actions, you're calm, you're peaceful, you're happy. And that means a lot to so many people. So remember the happiness part of the Dhamma. which is really, really important. And if it really works, if this is all these talks which monks like I give and nuns give, and which you hear and you read about, if it really works, surely it should give some peace and some happiness. And you could see that on people's faces. Wow, you're really quick going to the toilet over in Singapore. Anyone else want to go? We're only just chit-chatting at the moment.
It's efficient, Ajahn Brahm.
Efficient. Okay, whatever.
Maybe 1 or 2 more minutes.
Yeah. Because
there is some queue in the toilet, I believe.
Yeah. I said to the people today that once when I was I was already staying in Australia, but went to visit the Northeast again and visit all those monasteries. I think it was for Ajahn Chah's, one of his anniversaries. And anyway, that Ajahn Liam, who was looking after Wat Pah Pong afterwards, he sort of decided to get 3 or 4 buses and go pay respects to Ajahn Mahabua. And that's about 5 or 6 hours bus journey. And he said, look, it's a long journey. We have to get back in the evening, so we can't waste time. So he said, there's going to be no toilet stops. There's one of these buses with no toilets. No toilet stops. So he came around every monk handing out, I think, 2 or 3 plastic bags each and about 6 rubber bands. He said, this is a forest tradition. We're not stopping. Use the plastic bags. So if there's a queue outside, have you got any plastic bags in the Buddhist Fellowship Hall?
Good idea.
Okay, maybe not.
Mention, Ajahn Brahm, we currently have 222 people live watching this streaming in Facebook. So
222.
222.
That's a magic number. Everything's a magic number. Anyway, good.
Maybe soon it will be 333.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think pretty much everyone is back. So Ajahn, please do provide us with some time for short meditation.
So, I got to ask you, how long is a short meditation? Because for me, it's about an hour.
Is that right? Yeah.
10 minutes?
10 minutes meditation. Yes.
Okay, 10 minutes. Okay. Here we go. So, short guided meditation. So, sitting down, or if you're on a chair, is fine. If you're in hospital, lying on a bed, that's fine too. It's wonderful to be meditating all types of postures, so that when that time comes, we do get very sick and we're in bed, so we can still meditate and have a beautiful mind. So, sitting down, closing your eyes, or laying down, or wherever. And when you are closing your eyes, think of peace. What is peace? Even say the word to yourself a few times. Or instead of saying to yourself, listen to me, I'll say it for you. Peace. 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 And every time the word is said, automatically it turns the mind into that direction. And as you go closer and closer towards peace, you realize how wide it is, how huge, and how welcoming is peace. It's like an inner home. Peace. Peace. You can feel it. Peace. Calming. Not criticizing. Not judging. Peace. You're opening the door into this beautiful realm of peace. Peace. You don't have to say anything or do anything or not do anything. Everything calms down and becomes still. Peace. 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 And especially this mind which names too much. Just giving one thing to focus on, the meaning of peace. And you can't write an essay on the meaning of peace. You can only feel it. Peace. 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 When the mind is peaceful, you'll notice it comes into the present moment naturally. The thoughts get so soft, they kind of disappear. Peace. It's a time you're not doing anything. You're not working, trying to achieve anything. Because peace is already here. Peace. 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 And you allow your attention to go inside. It's where peace lives, inside of you. Peace. It lies beyond your thoughts, beyond your health or lack of health. It's right in the middle of you. Peace. It's not something you develop. It's something you realize you already have. Peace. 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 And deep inside of you, you find because you don't have to do anything with it, it's just there. You can stay a long time. Peace. It's a comfortable place to stay. Peace. 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 I'm going to be quiet for 2 minutes. So you really feel the peace inside of you. How do you feel? I'm close to the end of this short meditation on peace. So please open your eyes. Just to keep most of that peace inside of you. Heals, refreshes, teaches you much more Dhamma than any words from a monk like me. Okay, meditation sort of concluded. Okay, so what questions have I now?
Thank you, Ajahn Brahm.
Thank you, Ajahn. Okay. The first question that I have is, how do we deal with a mind that always sabotages itself?
It's always what?
Sabotages itself.
Oh yeah, it doesn't always do that. Was it doing that during the meditation? You know, sometimes we, as human beings, we tend to notice the negative things in our life and think that's all there is. A good way to stop that is for those, say, in the Buddhist fellowship, you know, in the hall there. When you go into that hall, what do you notice? You notice the walls, the Buddha statue, the people. You know, most of the stuff in the hall in the Buddhist fellowship is just empty. There's very little actually there. Don't just look at the people. Look at the spaces between the people. Don't just look at the walls. What's between the walls? What's underneath the ceiling, above the floor? There's so much emptiness there in the hall at the Buddhist fellowship. But people only notice things. Their friends, you know, the MC, the Buddha statue. Don't just notice things. Notice what's between those things. The emptiness, the silence, the nothingness which surrounds everything. That's the same with your mind. Don't stigmatize it. Oh, my mind is always thinking and just bringing up stuff and just... There are many moments which you maybe have not noticed yet. Many moments when your mind is still, peaceful. So notice those moments. When people are on retreats, I ask them to go for a walk in nature. Go watch a tree grow. Just listen to the wind, just blow the trees, and then rustle the leaves. Because, you know, the end of the rain is a storm, sort of, not really a big storm, but the wind was blowing quite hard. And I could hear that during that meditation, during those 2 minutes of making peace with things. Beautiful. Brings you into the moment. Nature cannot be predictive, cannot be planned. You just listen to it. Weird things happen. That makes you in this moment. You can't think. You just know. It's peaceful. Okay, next question.
Okay, thank you, Ajahn. The next question I have is how to handle situation where your boss always expects you to improve and not making the same mistake twice.
Oh, well, that's true. That's a fair expectation, but not making the same mistake twice. That's 2 times or 3 times is enough, but you should actually learn. Now, why did you make mistakes? And if you're afraid of making the mistake, you make it again much more easily. Sometimes we feel that if you're going to be punished and you're really going to fear that punishment, therefore you won't make the mistake again. That just makes you so tense, so afraid that, you know, you make mistakes again. So any mistakes which you make, they're not to be punished, to be learned from. Understand? Look, I only did that chanting for a marriage, the funeral chanting. I've only done that once. I learned from that mistake. Don't do it again. And so the other stuff which I've done in my life, you just say, oh, you made a mistake. Yeah, that was me. I own up to it and say, oh, I won't do it next time. But you know that sometimes mistakes, especially in science, sometimes mistakes lead to new discoveries. So that's one of the things which I even learned as a student at Cambridge. You know, when somebody blew something up, as long as no one was damaged or hurt, and then it was, why did that happen? That was really unexpected. And that's why we've got great discoveries from so-called mistakes. So it's also in business. Sometimes it might be a mistake, but what can be used by it? How can we learn from it? Maybe a new product, a new way of doing things might have been found. Started off as a mistake, but then we learned from those mistakes and we grew from them. I don't know about you, I often was thinking of, can't do it anymore, of asking my mum and dad, because they already had one child, my elder brother. Was I a mistake? Maybe I thought I was a mistake. Actually, just to let you know that one thing they did tell me, they expected a girl. They didn't expect a boy. So that was a bit of a mistake on their part. But anyway, it doesn't really matter. They got me. So what they weren't expecting sometimes was an added benefit to them. So if you make a mistake, come on, bosses of Singapore, don't sort of just make people sort of so afraid they make more mistakes and hide them and don't admit them. Give this wonderful sense of encouragement that whether it's at school or whether it's in a marriage, whether it's working, whether it's being parents, we're always learning. And when we're learning, we know we will make mistakes from time to time. So we don't encourage people to be afraid of mistakes. We encourage people to learn from them. And that's certainly how I teach in our Buddhist society, and especially in monastery. Monks are allowed to make mistakes. When they do, sometimes they're, oh, crikey, why did they do that? But then that's sometimes what I think, because that's, I make mistakes myself by thinking like that. But I always encourage them. Why? Why did you do that? Try and do better next time, but you don't have to be perfect. Learn. Which means the monasteries are much more welcoming. They're peaceful, happy places to visit. Wouldn't it be better in businesses if people are happy to be there? More energy in their office, and they can work together rather than work against each other.
Excellent. Thank you. The next
Good.
question. Does Ajahn agree compassion must be practiced with wisdom? It's that people will take advantage of our compassion if we lack wisdom.
Of course, because the compassion has to go to you as well as to others. So if it goes to you, they can't take advantage of you because you're in the equation. If you are not important, if you think compassion goes to all beings except for you, of course you will be taken advantage of. I get taken advantage of a lot. So that's the meaning of my life, to be taken advantage of. But there are times you're tired. So when I'm tired, I just, okay, I'm going back to my room now. See you later. So again, we take that compassion as to others, so to yourself. As to yourself, so to others. So then people can't take advantage of you. But you also have these skillful means. Like when people ask me, they say, Ajahn Brahm, can you give a talk at our center? Or, and I say, no, I can't travel. Can you go on Zoom and give us a talk? And so I think you know my answer. Because you made me, you're very smart people in the Buddhist fellowship. You made me your spiritual advisor or something. So I've got a sense of obligation to teach. As a spiritual advisor, I should give advice. But it's, with other groups, sometimes say, can you please, 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 please? And of course, my response, because I don't want to hurt them, I don't want to say no. And if I say yes, I'm not being kind to myself. So I find these other ways, saying, I will think about it. So that's my way of excusing making promises which I can't keep. I say, well, I'll think about it. And I do think about it. There have been some invitations I've been thinking about for the last 6 or 7 years. So I'm not lying. It's a good way of actually not going there, getting out of responsibility, but without offending people.
Okay, we'll take your advice, Ajahn. The next question. I've always placed service before self. Over the last 10 days, I've heard this message 3 times from different speakers. How do we know when to say no? I think you just answered that question.
Yeah, the trouble is that people can't accept the saying of no these days. You know, you say no to someone and say, why not? And they say, well, you know, you're supposed to be a monk, you should give more, and, you know, you should at least do something for others, not just a Buddhist fellowship. What about these other groups? You know, you give so much to these people, can't you give to us as well? But you're kind to yourself. And that kindness to yourself does actually mean that you just say no. Sometimes that's not accepted in our world. So we just say, well, I'll think about it and contemplate it. And sometimes I do change my mind. Sometimes I think about it and think, well, actually, yeah, I can do that. And so you do it. But most of the times you can't, because you're a limited, limited product. You've only got a certain amount of bandwidth in your life. If you go over too many gigabytes or gigabytes, and then you've got nothing left. And being a monk, I can't top it up. So you've only got a certain amount which you can share with other people.
Thank you, Ajahn. Many of us really work very hard, and some of us find it unable to relax our minds because we are always so busy and we always have to work really hard even though we are on leave. So how can we actually have self-compassion?
It's win-win situation. If you learn how to be kind to yourself, you can get more work done. This is one of my old similes, which was really powerful. And it's, how heavy is my cup of water? It's only water in here, not tea. How heavy is my cup of water? The longer I hold it, the heavier it feels. After 1 minute, I'm tired. 2 minutes, I'm in pain. 3 minutes, I'm in agony. And a very stupid Ajahn Brahm for holding it too long. When it gets too heavy to handle comfortably, I put it down and rest. Takes 1 or 2 minutes. After 1 or 2 minutes, actually it's only 30 seconds, pick up the cup again. It feels lighter. So in the work you have to do, you're very, very busy. Why? You can get more work done by learning how to rest when you're tired. Putting the cup down, going to the toilet for 5 minutes, not to urinate or defecate, but just to meditate. That's why United States, you know what the restroom, no, I've already given it away. They call the toilets rest rooms. So what a wonderful name for the toilet. Hopefully you can call that in the Buddhist fellowship. Don't call them toilets or WC. I forget what you actually call them. But, call them restrooms. So people can sit in there for as long as they like. Nice and comfortable. And maybe get some padded seats on the seats where you sit down on the toilets. They're nice and comfortable, so people can meditate on them. Is that possible? But anyway, when you learn how to put things down and rest when you're tired, when you pick it up again, you go back to your computer, you go back to the project, you go back to writing that email, you're fresh. And then you can write, you can compose, you can innovate. As I often say, you get 3 hours work done in 2. The problem with people, and I've said it so many times, in Harvard Business School they teach this. They got it from me. They don't acknowledge me at all. I don't care. But learning how to relax at work. 5 or 10 minutes. Go to a nice quiet room if you've got one of the toilets, if necessary. Sit down and be peaceful for a few minutes. But when you are doing that, you have to learn to use those 10 minutes wisely. All that training which monks like me give you, nuns give you, how to meditate, which we let go of the past and the future. In this moment, just even like think peace, 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 until you can feel that peace. You're sitting in the toilet totally peaceful. When you go back to the computer afterwards, it's so simple. You can notice a change. You do get more work done. Good quality work in less time, which means that your boss is happy with you. Yeah, you go into the toilet for 5 minutes every couple of hours. They ask you why. So I'm constipated. Don't tell them it's mental constipation, not physical constipation. But that way, then you can relax and you get the work done. Boss is happy.
Thank you, Ajahn. The next question. I usually feel stressed and don't have good sleep. How to overcome this?
Well, overcome good sleep or overcome stress.
I think there's a lack of sleep, which is due to stress.
Oh, lack of sleep due to stress, yeah. Well, look, it's when you go to bed, I mean, do you wear your shoes when you go into bed in Singapore?
No.
Do you wear boots into bed, high heels into bed?
Yeah.
Of course you don't. So why do you wear your work into bed when you go to bed? You have two slippers maybe. When you take off your left slipper and put it beside the bed, that left slipper is the past. The right slipper is your future. You don't wear them in bed with you. So that when you go into bed, please no stress. The bed is not your workstation. It's a rest station. There's that great teaching of Ajahn Chah, which was told to me about a Singapore guy, is Ajahn Chah said, whatever you're doing, give it 100%. So if you are in front of your computer terminal or computer, whatever it is, then if you're writing an email or doing a project, give that everything you've got. If you find you're tired, you need a rest, you give resting everything you've got. You're not resting and thinking of the work in the background. Resting, meditating. When you're with your family, give family everything you've got. They're important for you. You're important for them. When you're driving your car, if you're driving your car back, give driving everything you've got. Then you won't have crashes. When you go to bed at night, give sleeping everything you've got. That's what that bed's there for sleep, not for thinking about the projects or the work the following morning, not for thinking over what happened earlier on. One thing at a time, give it everything you've got. And the guy who told this to me said that was just such a simple teaching from Ajahn Chah, and that changed his whole life. His family flourished, his health improved, his business, he had his own business, really went really, really well. And his life improved. He knew how to sleep because he gave sleeping. That's the one thing he was doing when he was in bed at night. Give that total 100%. Which means that you're focusing. I was telling a story, the old story I tell about going to funerals. And then when my father died, I thought it was like a concert, his life. And so I never cried at the end of a concert, never cried at the end of a funeral. I gave all those examples of going to these great concerts when I was young. And one of them was, Rod Stewart. That's right, Rod Stewart. When only 6 people, I was one of the 6, turned up to listen to him. Like a private concert with Rod Stewart. And he's really famous nowadays, Rod Stewart. But anyway, one of the people at the funeral came up to me and said, that I'm a professional musician. I didn't recognize him. I don't know who he was. He said, but when you're playing music, you don't care how many people are watching you. You really get into the performance, into the music, and that's all you really feel. You give it everything you've got, 100% when you're playing music. You're totally oblivious of the audience. It's an interesting perspective, and I valued that. So it's the same when you're going to bed at night. That's all you have. Just give that everything you've got and have a really wonderful sleep. You get up in the morning, it means you relax and you can do even more for the work in the morning. Ideas come up when you're having your breakfast. Please give breakfast everything you've got. they can digest it well, so you don't have problems with digestion. People have problems with digesting because they're not really digesting, they're not really paying any attention to what they're doing. They're not even tasting the food. It's a little by little. We put everything we've got into what we're doing.
Thank you.
No stress, yeah.
The next question is from KL.
Ah,
Yeah. And the person is asking if we have compassion, will it affect us in our work and make us less aggressive when we are selling and dealing with in business negotiations?
oh, no, because compassion goes to everybody. Maybe less aggressive, but a bit more sneaky. No, not really sneaky, but people don't feel the fear. They have to fight you. But you have your duties to your business, your company, and the compassion towards everybody. Make sure it's in everybody's interest to make this deal. And just compassion to everybody. And there was a time when, I don't know, business people, successful business people have often told me that they become successful because they build relationships, with others in the industry. And sometimes those relationships, whether with businesses who are in the same area, they're competitors. But that sort of compassion which they have, the kindness, means that eventually some people tend to work together. And that compassion instead of like aggression. Obviously, you've got to be forceful sometimes. But actually, that after the end of the game, you're friends, just like in a football match. You have to be aggressive. You have to really go for that tackle and shoot that ball as hard as you can. But at the end of the day, you don't sort of injure your friends or hurt anybody. You give everything you've got, enjoy whatever you're doing. But after the end of the day, you're friends. Too many divisions in our world. We should be working together more.
Ajahn, can we ask 4 more questions? Do we have time? Do you have?
Yeah, you've got only 20 to 5 over here. So yeah, got more time. So ask away.
Okay. So how can mindfulness meditation guide us to have self-compassion at the moment of death?
When you have a mindfulness meditation, is only part of meditation. There's so much more to meditation, such as, you're virtuous, keeping precepts, doing service for others, looking after your parents, looking after your monks. But there's so much comes up. You start with mindfulness, maybe these days, but then again, it leads on to so much more. And that so much more leads you on to understanding about the moments of death. You're aware of your body and it's falling apart. And you go to the painful parts of dying, but then you get to this point just when basically the body just stops. You can't see, you can't smell, you can't hear, you can't taste, you can't even feel the body touch anymore. And it's all just stopped, just like a car's broken down. It stops, it doesn't work anymore. But the mind, like the driver of the car, if you like, not a perfect metaphor, but best you have, the driver of the car is still there. So it gives kindness. Had a wonderful drive, a wonderful life. Not perfect, you made mistakes, but you learn from the mistakes. And that compassion which you have to yourself is well-wishing, not punishing yourself. And I was saying this in the talk to the monks last Wednesday at Bodhinyana Monastery. If you have that compassion towards yourself at the end of your life, you made mistakes, but you don't sort of judge your life just by the wrong things you've done. You've learned. You're in a difficult position at times. You made a choice, maybe the wrong choice. You're going to learn from that, become better because of it. That's compassion. May I be happier and well. May I be better in the future. So little by little, that compassion means you'll never have to go to a lower realm. You never need to punish yourself. You can say, well, I made a few mistakes, but on the whole, I did a pretty good life. And that type of self-compassion will send you to beautiful new lives. great realms in the future.
Thank you, Ajahn. The next question is from a mother. Dear Ajahn, I am worried about my son's future. Not sure if he can get into a good secondary school. He is well above average, but then it's very difficult to get into top schools. And sometimes I'm stressed if I'm seeing him playing TV games too much. Even though I know that he needs to relax. How do myself and my son feel better?
Okay. I don't know how many times I've heard that question or similarity in the last weekend, just the last couple of days. Mothers will always worry about their kids. I don't know about Albert Einstein's mother, but I'm sure that she was always worried about him. He wasn't smart enough, only getting a job as, was it, a clerk in some patent office or something. Yeah, was that Albert Einstein? But anyway, please don't worry about your sons, but just love them to the bit, love them to 100%, because that's what a son needs from his mum. It's beautiful kindness, compassion, love, because so many other people are trying to improve him, make him better. The job of a mother is to care for him. Be kind, so at least he knows there's one person in this world who will accept him as he is, who will love him just for being my son. And everything else is just bonus for me. They tell your son, well, you don't have to go to a top school, you don't have to do well at school. But as long as you know that you're always loved by me and cared for by me. And then mummy would love you to go to a good school. And if you fit in there, if you belong there, you can do the work. But that's not the be-all and end-all in life in going to top schools. I went to top schools. There's all scholarships and top university. What good did that do me? Because being a monk, you have a totally different idea of education. And the best education is education of the emotions. You get that kindness, the softness, acceptance, and you can find some good things inside of yourself. And finding those good things inside of yourself, you will grow just like flowers grow in good soil. So you make sure that he's in a good garden. A garden which nurtures him, which can support him. Out there in the world, you know what it's like. And it's very tough at schools, and sometimes you're always compared with others and in life. So in his home, make sure that's the place. This is your home, son, where you're respected and we're kind to you. And then you'll find that he becomes even a better son. He wants to do things which pleases his mum. Because his mum loves him so much. You do love him so much. But he needs to see that more and more and more. In the difficult stages of his life, when there's so much pressure on him all around, you say at home you don't have to have that pressure at all. Mum is here to support you. See what happens.
Thank you. Dear Ajahn, can you please explain how do we recognize the delusions of our mind when we focus on our thoughts? It's easy to recognize when we want things or when we dislike things.
Sorry, carry on.
I try to understand or notice delusion when I encounter it, but I can't. Is it not useful to do it in daily life or meditation? Thank you.
Yeah, it's how you notice what delusion is by its effects. It always gives you more trouble in life, and you get more even sick and more stressed, more angry. You realize it's not going the right path. The usual story which I use to understand what delusion is, because so many people were saying, when I was a layperson, Peter, you're going the wrong path. Don't become a Buddhist. Become a Christian. Or become wealthy, or go and get married, and do this and do that. And blah, blah, blah. I didn't know which was the right path. So many people were telling me that the path I was on was wrong. What was delusion? How can I be sure that I was going on a path which wasn't deluded? And that was when I came across that simile of just being lost in the mountain, in the mist. That happened to me when I was a student in Scotland. And it was dangerous because I couldn't see maybe a meter in front of me. And there were cliffs there. I was by myself. It was a stupid position to be, but very dangerous. And so I had a moment of wisdom. I said, I'm going to follow a stream. No matter which way that stream goes, I'm going to follow that stream because streams go downhill. No, the mist is only on top of the mountain. You go down, 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 you go underneath the mist. And that's what I did. I zigzagged here. I was always going to follow that stream as it got bigger and bigger and other streams joined it, no matter which way it went. I zigzagged this way, no shortcuts, zigzag this way, zigzag that way, until I was under the mist. I could see where I was going. It was clear. I was on the other side of the mountain. It was a long way around, but at least I was safe. I could see. I wasn't deluded anymore. So follow something which you know is going in the right direction. Things like which makes you more peaceful, more happy, more healthy. And if you don't know what's making you more peaceful, happy, and healthy, ask the people you live with. They say, oh, you go to the Buddhist fellowship, you come back so much more peaceful. You go to a retreat, you come back so much joyful. And you know from their feedback, this is a path worth following. You keep going. And soon you get under the mist and you can see it for yourself. And for those of you traditional Buddhists, getting under the mist and knowing which way to go, that's called being a stream winner. You can actually see everything, know exactly where the safety lies. No more doubts about what delusion is and how to overcome it.
Thank you. The next question, how do you see yourself in others, even when the other is your opponent?
See, well, your opponent is, I don't know, honestly, I can't really understand the word opponent. Even the last soccer match where I played in, there's only 9, soccer is 11 aside. And only 9 of the other team turned up to play, 11 of my team. So at half time, we're about 6 or 7-0 up. It was a useless game. And I went up to my captain in the half-time break and said, is it okay if I play for the other team in the second half to make it 10 each, so make it more of a good game? And he swore at me. This was at Cambridge. He said, no, of course you can't. We've got to beat them by as many goals as we can. I thought, that's a terrible idea. So I gave up. That was the last competitive game I played. It's not winning, just enjoying the game. So having an opponent, it's just thank you for being on the other side. But if you're very weak, I'll come and join you. It's the same with opponents. One of the things I never liked with examinations at school or university, because you're sitting next to your best friend. You're not so close, maybe even a meter apart, with your best friend. And you could see the best friend was having trouble with that question. And I wanted to tell him, no, this is how to solve the question. And teacher told me off, said that's cheating. It's not cheating, it's being kind. Because in real life, that's what we do with our opponents, competitors. We have to work together. So who are the opponents to Buddhist fellowship? Is it the Christian church? Is it the Muslims, church, mosques? Who are your opponents? You don't have them. Yay, you're learning something. We work together. Different ways of doing things. We have Chinese restaurants, Malaysian restaurants, Western restaurants. But we don't, not in competition, because we go to all of them. Not on the same day, obviously, but but from day to day.
Thank you, Ajahn. Can we ask one last question?
Yeah, as I say, always one more.
Okay, the question is being a vegetarian self-compassion and compassion for animals?
It is, if you can do it. So that sometimes it's very difficult to be a vegetarian. If you can and you're healthy, especially if you're young, please, if you've got no health problems, then do that. And is it compassionate for when you look at others who aren't vegetarians, they say, oh, bad monk, bad monk. You ate sausages this morning, Ajahn Brahm, which I did. I know, only one sausage. But the reason I do that is because I'm a monk and that's what people give me. And it's also, it digests so easy. That's what I ate when I was young. I found my body's got used to that, and trying to change it now, it just doesn't work. A few times I've tried that. So it's compassionate for yourself if you can do it. Compassion for animals if you can do it. See what you can do. But don't be judgmental if you fail.
Thank you, Ajahn, for a great talk and question and answer session. May we say sadhu 3 times.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Okay, a few of you are doing it right, but I need to get you to do it again. The 3 sadhus. Remember, give it everything you've got. Okay, Eileen. So now 3 proper sadhus, Ajahn Brahm style. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Sadhu.
Sadhu.
Sadhu. Everything you've got.
Okay, now I'll pass the mic back to Brother Joe and invite Ajahn for blessings and sharing of merits.
Oh, yeah. There you go.
Thank you very much, Sister Sichuan. So Ajahn Brahm, if we could ask one more thing, please do provide us things for the cherry on top of today's service. And for brothers and sisters at home as well as in BF, after the blessing, please hold on because we do have some announcements. And then we will close our session with chanting as usual. So Ajahn Brahm, please provide us with a blessing.
And the sharing of merits at the same time, or do that sharing of merits afterwards?
Sharing of merits and blessings
okay.
from Ajahn Brahm. Yes.
Okay, so the blessing first of all, and then the sharing of merits will come right after.
Mm-hmm.
Sabha vinimuto, sabha santapa vajito, sabha veramati gandho nibuto chatuwang bhawa, sabitiyo vivachantu sabha rogo, Vinasatu mate bhavan Vantarayo sukhi digayugo pawa apiwa Danhasi litsa nichang Utapachalino Chataro dhamma vatanti Ayuwano Sukhang Balang. That's to you. And now the sharing of merits, you can join in with me, the Nati Me Saranang Anyang. Nati Me Saranang Anyang Buddho Me Saranang Warang Etena Satchawajena Sotite Hotu Sabbadanati Me Saranang Anyang Dhammo Me Saranang Warang Etena Satchawajena Sotite Hotu Sabbadanati Me Saranang Anyang Sangho Me Saranang Warang Etena Satchawajena Sotite Hotu Sabada. That's for all your relations, especially those passed away. May they receive the merits we've made today and rejoice in them.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Yay, you've learned. Very good.
Thank you very much, Ajahn Brahm, for providing us with a very enlightening talk, as well as teaching us about self-compassion. And if we do any mistakes today by speech or action, conscious or unconscious, we have already forgiven ourselves.
Well done.
And let us pay respect to Ajahn Brahm by giving 3 bows. First, second bow. bow. Thank you, Ajahn.
Okay, see you next time.
See
And then
you.
the next time is bye.
Bye.
Bye. Okay.
Okay, everyone. Please hold on a little bit.
Always gonna leave
We'll have
it.
announcement after this. Bye-bye, Ajahn Brahm. Okay, so announcements, please. Slides. Once we finish the announcements, we will do the closing, and that's the end of our service. So announcements for February 2021 Sunday services. Next week, it's a Chinese New Year holiday, but BF is not going into a holiday. In fact, we will have a special event. On the 14th of February, Buddhist Fellowship Singapore will have a Lunar New Year special event, which will be led by Sayalai Sujata. And we will also have blessings as well as a special ceremony, which is the offering of lights and requisites. So if you would like to make your prayers or get some blessings, I think next week is going to be a very, very auspicious day to do some offering of lights and as well as requisites. However, places are very, very limited. We only have 50 slots, if I'm not wrong. Yeah, 50 slots, and it is really filling up fast. So if you want to get some blessings and do some offering of lights and requisites and be blessed for the whole year and beyond, then please do sign up for next week's Buddhist Fellowship Chinese New Year special event. Okay, next. And as usual, we will also have on every Saturdays, we will have the BF Youths as well as the Indonesian service. Next. And the Buddhist Fellowship Junior Youths as well on Saturdays, 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. All of these events are open for registration. And again, all of these details can be found in Eventbrite, or you can go to a Buddhist Fellowship office to register as well. We also have Rahula Connects Chinese New Year Special, an online meeting to promote Buddhist teachings. And this is for Buddhist Fellowship juniors, age 7 to 9, as well as 10 to 12. This event is again available in Eventbrite. It's open for registration. Feel free to enroll your juniors so that they can get all the good teachings. Our very popular course, Introduction to Anapanasati Meditation, is again open for registrations by popular demand. It will be open starting on 28th February to 4th of April 2021, every Sunday, 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. Links to register is again through Eventbrite. And last but not least, and it's very important, Dhamma is priceless. And if you are wondering what is the best way to start your practice on this auspicious month and the beginning of the Chinese New Year, how about to give donation and practice some generosity? Buddhist Fellowship is receiving donations by PayNow or online bank transfer. We also receive monthly gyro, check, as well as credit card. So lots of ways to practice some generosity and help us to keep Dhamma priceless. May you be well and happy. That will be the end of our announcements. Now we will close our service today. We have listened to a very inspiring talk. We have done some meditations. May we all rejoice. And with all of those joy and happiness filling up our mind, with all of this wholesomeness, let us share the merits one more time. In Anjali, let us invite all sentient beings to participate in this acquired merits. Etavata cha ammehi sangvatang punya sangpadang Sabhe dewa anumodantu Sabha Sangpati Siddhya Etavata Chahammehi Sangvatang Punya Sangpadang Sabhe Bhuta Anumodantu Sabha Sangpati Siddhya Etavata Chahammehi Sangvatang Punya Sangpadang Sabhe Sattha Anumodantu Sabha Sangpati Siddhya. Let us dedicate the merits of participating in a wholesome Dhamma activity to our departed relatives and friends. Yethang me nyatinang hotu sukhita hontu nyatayo. Yethang me nyatinang hotu sukhita hontu nyatayo. Yethang me nyatinang hotu sukhita hontu nyatayo. Hand of service dedication. I dedicate the merits which I have accumulated to the cultivation of my mind in order to bring happiness and benefits to all sentient beings. I dedicate the merits to my parents, children, spouse, relatives, friends, colleagues, and my adversaries, wishing them long life, good health, happiness, and prosperity. May we never part from the triple gem, and may we always walk the path towards enlightenment. Let us pay respects to the triple gem. Arahang Samma Sambuddho Bhagava Buddhang Bhagavantang Abhivadi. Swakato Bhagavata Dhammo Dhammang Namasami. Supatipanno Bhagavato Sāvaka Sangho Sanghang Namami. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. That's it for our Sunday service today, brothers and sisters, and for all of the people who joined through Facebook. May you all be well and happy. Enjoy your weekend. Bye-bye.